Welcome to the Waiting List podcast. Tell us a story.
It's like many things you start building from scratch.
And then I'm like, wait, I really do like watches because
You've seen so many watches that makes you excited.
I think I really do like watches.
Yeah. I think it's a great way to see if you are a watch enthusiast. Welcome back to another episode of the Waiting List podcast. And today is rather a different one to what we do usually, I'd say, because there's no guest this time. And it's one we're recording for Christmas. So this should be released around the Christmas week. So today I'm joined with the obsessively Christmas tree loving Lang Lang, the Aston Martin driving Chinese James Bond, Alex Lau.
Bonjour.
And myself, the big grand idiot that is Daniel. Today, however, I've got the opportunity to introduce a new person onto the show. So I think this should go out as her introduction. And when I mean someone new to the show, I mean a new host that we're going to have on here. And it's someone we've interviewed before and someone that has been very supportive of the podcast since its birth. It's the leaf-loving Jaclyn, aka A Dose of Time on Instagram.
Hey, hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Jaclyn.
Right.
Well, Merry Christmas. We've got to say Merry Christmas first. I'm assuming that's when it's going to be launched.
Yeah. Man.
Yeah, okay, we'll say Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody. Yeah. To be fair, it's December, so I think it makes sense. All those losers that have put their Christmas tree up, yeah, a bit sad, a bit early, a bit too keen, I'd say. But yeah, Merry Christmas to you. And, since we're all apart, everybody on this podcast right now is in a different country.
Oh, yes, we are.
Yeah, we are.
No,
So-
Alex and Chester aren't. Well, Chester's
right.
just, yeah,
Chester's not actually there, though.
that's true. Chester's sleeping.
Yeah, Chester's sleeping, yeah.
We should tell everyone where we are right now.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it makes no surprise that, guess what? I'm still in Shanghai.
Yeah.
You, Jaclyn?
I'm currently still stuck in Vancouver. So I remember the last time when you guys were interviewing me, you were like, oh yeah, when are you going to come back to China? When are you going to leave Canada? Well, guess what? I'm still in Canada. Yeah. So my way of celebrating Christmas is we're probably going to drive up to Whistler, my friend and I, and then we're just going to go skiing and snowboarding for maybe a day or two and then come back.
Nice.
Yeah.
That sounded so shit at the beginning. And then you said, I'm going snowboarding and shit. I'm like, that sound shit. You made it sound like it was fucking a nightmare. But
No,
having said that,
when you are living in Canada, the only source of entertainment is skiing, and I tend to add a little bit of color that I get a lot of shit from you guys for loving leaves, but I
Leaves.
love leaves. So that's another source of my entertainment. Too bad for you.
All right,
Well-
we're going to send you some leaves for Christmas from Asia.
I'll introduce you to something and it'll totally change your life. But Alex recommended it to me a while back. It's called Pornhub. And he's got a premium account that he lends me. So he lets me go in his premium account. Mate, the shit on there, it's very colorful. Very colorful.
I should just write it off Alex's account instead of creating my own. Okay.
No, he's not a creator. He's just a user.
Oh, no, that's what I meant. You know how Netflix, you
Yeah,
see
is that what you meant? Are you creating?
I think I need Daniel's expertise on that. I think he should be teaching us.
If
He's got the
Alex
most experience
created,
here.
it'll be classy. It'll be classy porn. Very classy.
Yeah.
No, I think
You can bring the Bond girls on, Alex.
Yeah.
I'll end up doing the job. You know when they do one of those exotic scenes, right? I end up just doing the job. It's like, can you come and fix my car? I actually just fixed the car.
Anyway, I guess it's the first time we've had what I guess is an active. You used to be part of the audience, right, Jaclyn?
Yeah.
And now you're actually a host. So how's the podcast been for you?
As an audience member?
Yeah, generally, because I know you've listened to all of it. How have you? Yeah, how's it been for you?
I mean, I don't remember where I heard this from. I think it was another podcast that I was listening. Basically, I've never listened to a podcast before, or as religiously as I have been with the waiting list. And what I've realized is every day that the episode comes out, I get so much more efficient while like going on with my day. Like I would be driving, I don't know about you guys, but as an audience member, I tend to listen to the podcast while I'm driving. And I like tend to zone out when I'm driving sometimes, but not in like a dangerous way. I just get
Yeah, I
into
was about
the
to
zone.
say.
Yeah, no. I don't.
It's like, wow.
I don't
Will be, it's
drive
like, oh, gone.
dangerously, but I only think about driving when I'm driving. So it puts me into this like meditative state a little bit. And when I listen to the podcast, it's very calming at the same time, like educational. But then there are the occasional cracks, right, that Dan makes that I'm just like, oh my god, like I can't believe he said that. But then it's fun. And then I remember I heard this from another place saying like how podcasts are hot right now because they add the additional hour to the day. So instead of having 24 hours, you have 25 hours because you do more stuff while like doing nothing because you're listening. So it's not like, you know, a video that you have to be constantly looking at the screen on. You can do whatever you're doing and then just listen and educate yourself. Whereas in this case, it's not only just, you know, education on the guest side, but also getting to know 3 other really fun people. So I mean, you know, I've told all of you guys I absolutely love the podcast, and I especially appreciate those episodes when we delve deeper on the personal sides, because living in a day and age where we're so bombarded with social media, you don't really get to know who they are as a person. And when you ask those like personal questions, it makes me see more and just beyond that Instagram handle and into their like childhood or their upbringing, which I really love. Yeah.
Yeah,
All
you're
right,
totally right about that.
Dan,
Yeah.
you can wire the money to her now.
How much do we owe her? I mean,
Nah, when she was saying about like listening it to the car, I was just thinking about Alex. Alex never listens to it to the car because he's always got Skyfall on by Adele.
Holy shit, we're gonna let that go. We're gonna let that go. Bloody hell.
Never.
Holy
Never.
shit.
And the thing is
Holy
like
shit.
his drive in Hong Kong is never long, so it's 15 minutes. And he actually told me that if he plays it 3 times in a row, that's the time it takes for him to get to work.
Yeah.
Right. But having said that, you mentioned it as well, which was, you know, you're an active listener. And this week in particular on Instagram, I've had a lot of DMs on their stories and stuff about Waiting List podcast being like their binge, you know, or like a ranking system, right? I don't know where they're getting it from, if it's something that's just come up from Spotify. So I want to take the opportunity to thank you, all of you that are our listeners. Thank you so much for supporting the channel and listening. It really does, at the current moment when we really like, apart from pure enthusiasm, it's a great motivator for us to keep doing this. So thank you very much to everybody listening.
Thank you.
Right, so only Long thinks it's worth saying.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I've got to say thank you.
No, I'm just honestly, I'm really shocked because sometimes I think, who the hell would listen to us speak? Like just talk about like random shit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's
Yeah.
still, it's
Yeah,
just
especially
really
on the like 30th episode, right?
I mean,
People are looking, you guys are still doing it? That's what people are thinking.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. And I was also thinking to myself, you know, when I was knocking up this interview, or not this interview, this podcast, the material for it, this is probably like, it's taken me a whole fucking year, yeah, to get the recording sound acceptable. Because either I was getting slated in Hong Kong for my laugh, and if you don't know, Jaclyn, like my laugh, apparently it pitches high, so everybody has to cut it down, right? Cut it down every time I laugh, and I laugh quite a lot in the podcast. So I was getting absolutely slated for that. And then after I moved back to Shanghai, I sounded like I was in the bathtub of my bathroom. so like, but this is like a rare occasion where, yes, I've got it fucking bang on. And for like the listeners don't know because they can't see the podcast, but I actually made like Echo boxes and Echo walls. You know,
Do you have
and-
the box with you?
Are you
Yeah,
I've
I've
got a
got
picture of
Jaclyn?
it. I have a picture
I've
of
got
it
the-
as well. So one day I will
Yeah, I got the
humor us
box.
all and show
Actually,
it.
Jaclyn, have you seen the box?
Never?
Yeah, do you
Show
want to see the
her.
box?
Are you
Check this out.
serious?
This is
Yeah,
gonna be
I
like
talk into
Pulp
the box.
Fiction. You know Pulp Fiction?
Like
They've got
this.
a suitcase and it's golden.
It
Like this
sounds
is the
really
thing that
good,
people
right?
ain't gonna imagine.
Wow.
Sounds really good.
I'm getting a
Yeah,
little
I made-
behind the scenes action.
Exactly.
Yeah, I made it myself, and I also made this another one, which is like, well, kind of like I don't need it because
Basically,
like
Daniel
really-
lives in a cardboard box when he does this podcast, just for the entertainment of our guests.
Wow.
That's Alex with one of his shit jokes.
I am not saying a joke. As a fact. That's not a statement.
Right. Anyway, what has everybody been up to recently? Like Alex, I'd seen you down at AP like last week. You saw the new
Yeah, how was the
um,
watch?
AP double balance ceramic, which is
Yes,
trading
yes.
for like 80K Hong Kong, right?
Yeah.
Tell us about the
Well, the retail's 602,000 Hong Kong, I believe. I went in there. I think it was meant to be coming anyway, because when they released that 41mm case, you know that it's going to be eventually going to be using with the double balance. Very attractive, of course, definitely going to be a hype piece, and one that I knew about like probably for several months, but just kept it relatively quiet. I think it's going to do well. Of course, like AP is let's be honest, AP is on a roll. Like of all companies that I know of, I think from what I've heard is like they keep selling out every single piece. So you go down there. My friend's been asking me for certain pieces if they're available or not. I just say to him, just good luck. Don't even bother. Even with just the normal offshores, you can't even get it. So I think yeah, it's going to be pretty strong.
Was that a prototype?
Yeah, it was a prototype. Yeah, it's not the real one. It's just a prototype.
All right. Yeah.
It's a working prototype, right?
Yeah, it's a working prototype. Yeah. So so I think what AP does differently from many others is normally, I think with SIHH and Buzzworld, they'll show the pieces coming out. Then in October or something, then they'll release the watches for everyone to view it. I think AP kind of has their own schedule, and they will basically release a watch when they've got some sort of demo or very close to having the pieces available. So I'm assuming by Christmas or January, you'll start seeing the actual pieces on people's wrists.
Okay.
Be soon coming.
So is it a piece you're going to go for?
I mean, I had a good 9 months to think about it, kind of thing, like kind of imagining whether it fit me or not. And I really liked it for the first, teasing myself with the notion of it. But I think after a while, I'm probably more inclined, if I was to get the ceramic, just to go for the standard perpetual. I just purely think because of this, the way it fits my lifestyle in terms of wearability, I think it's probably better. If it's the double balance, I would probably go for like stainless steel or even rose gold.
Can you elaborate your lifestyle?
Well, no, but I'm in a second. Well, I mean,
what kind of lifestyle?
Like, no,
Can you sing me Skyfall? Can you give
no,
me a few
I'm
lines?
not going to sing you, Skype. Well, sing it to
Please.
yourself. Go to the bathroom,
on,
press
Alex.
play.
Sing.
I can't
Look,
sing.
it's Christmas.
Excuse me. Daniel
Sing
probably has a
me
better singing
Skyfall.
voice because he's loud. Anyway,
Sing me Skyfall.
I just go to work and I'm normally in a suit, so I need something a bit more standard. Yes, Daniel.
Well, to be honest,
that's
I actually don't think the watch suits you.
Yeah, I don't think it
Yeah.
would. Yeah,
The black ceramic.
double balance.
If you want one, I think a Rado would suit you better. No, the thing is, though, I know you're into Rado.
I do. Well, no, I do. Okay, so make it. I think
That's
one
not
of
a
my
joke,
first watches.
but it is a
no.
joke.
It is a joke, but it's not. Anyway, next.
No, but it's based. Well, some jokes are based in truth, and that one is.
Well, okay, so back at university, I did have a Rado watch. So when I was like 18, 19,
Yeah.
I did have one. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's it.
Well, I think because the way you dress and everything, the double balance is too flashy. I think for you, like the double balance without the ceramic, and it goes to my contention with it is, I just prefer it on the stainless steel because I just think the black ceramic is too much. Like the double balance is a loud statement piece already, and you go and make it. It's just like I'm trying so hard now. Like I've pulled out all the stops and whistles, and you think, it's a bit too much for me. And then also when you factor in the price, I feel you got to remember it's a time only piece. Yeah, like, and it's trading for that much. Like, if you look on the market, you can get a lot of different pieces, but it's probably not where AP will make their money, because it's going to be teased in limited amounts that I mean, that's another question. Do you think that piece is going to be like less than the ceramic perpetual and the skeleton open work perpetual? Like, what do you reckon they're gonna make it slightly more popular, more available, or less? Do you think, Alex?
Well, I think I'm assuming if you was to rank the hardest pieces, I think the double balance is right up there. It's probably the top 3 hardest watches to get. I think for the stainless steel and the pricing of it, yeah, it's probably, a very attractive piece. 15202 is the Halo watch. The ceramics are always going to be hard to get. So I think in their initiative, it's really kind of money for old rope. So they've already got the double balance. They've already got the ceramic case. Just put them together. It doesn't really cost them much more to make because they're not doing anything beyond the ordinary. But I think by doing that kind of adds potential brand equity, I guess, in terms of how people view it. So I think, but on the other side, I do want to flip it around. So if I was given a choice with the perpetual open work ceramic, right, I would say the double balance actually forms probably a cheaper alternative. If you put it that, if you think about it,
go on, explain.
Because if you look at the ceramic perpetual open work, it's actually quite chaotic. It's really hard to. It's not very legible. So you've got the benefit. You've got the benefit of the perpetual calendar, yes, but in terms of actually being able to view the piece, not really legible. So the double balance, if you think about the pricing, I think it's almost half the price of that. So you would kind of say, well, if I want to go for a watch that I can't even read anyway, why not just get the double balance?
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Yeah, totally
So that's
got
what you've been up to. What about you, Long Long? What have you been up to?
Where are you at the moment?
Well, I'm actually in Singapore. So by the time this is released, hopefully,
You'll be
I'm
back
out
in Hong
of
Kong.
quarantine. No, I'm out of quarantine. So I'm doing my quarantine in Singapore right now, which I haven't told a lot of people about. So I think by the time this comes out around Christmas, I'll be in Singapore. Yeah.
And how are you finding it?
How am I finding it?
Yeah.
Well, it's only been, so today's the 3rd day and it's been okay. But if you know me really well, I'm super introverted. So I actually love being alone.
Yeah.
And it's just about, and I think, so I was obviously like, I'm trying to psych myself up like before during the quarantine. So I watched a lot of stuff on YouTube that was like how to get through quarantine, blah, blah, blah. And then someone said something that made a lot of sense to me. They said that generally, people try and keep the day super busy. You run from one meeting to another and so on, so on. Nobody wants alone time. Even when you're alone, you try and find things to do. You read, you watch TV and so on, because you just have so much painful shit that you don't want to deal with. So just sitting in solitude is such a painful thing. So I went into this thinking, okay, it's going to be very painful, but then you just have to use this 7 days to really clear whatever shit you have inside of you. Like, it sounds deep, but it sounds like I'm doing a lot of like personal work or whatever, right?
Meditation.
Yeah, but I was like, I'm gonna get through this. Like, I just need to do the work. I actually just have to get through the shit that I have. So I even brought a journal and I was like, I'm just gonna journal a lot, and I'm not gonna find any amount of excuse to be bored or to complain. Like, there's nothing to complain about. Yeah.
It's only
When I was in
Besides, like,
quarantine, when I was in quarantine, it was I felt I didn't feel shit. Yeah. I felt kind of like relieved a little bit.
Yeah.
Because, and I mentioned this to you yesterday, you have a good reason not to meet or see anybody or even respond. Like, you don't have that social obligation to do anything, right? And you can really just focus on yourself, and I did a lot of reflecting.
Yeah.
Because I spent a lot of time in Hong Kong. I made a lot of relationships there, and I did a lot of reflecting, and sometimes it's good to take a step out. So it's
Yeah.
glad I'm happy to hear that about you. Yeah, great.
It's also like actually I was thinking about this on the plane. I used to love taking super long flights. So from Singapore to England, it's 13 hours. And I used to think, yes, for 13 hours, you don't do anything. You can just actually have a very legitimate reason to be a bum and just watch movies nonstop and eat, right?
Yeah.
And then when I was on the flight, well, I texted you on the flight because then I realized, oh shit, there's Wi-Fi. I completely forgot because I haven't flown for so long.
Yeah.
And then I decided, okay, I'm just gonna send that picture of what I was eating, and then I'm gonna log out because I just want to be like, nah, I just want that feeling of like you're completely disconnected. No one can find you.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
Yeah.
How about you, Jaclyn? Like, what's your life been? Because you I don't know, it's still surprised. Like, you're still a student, for fuck's sake, yeah.
Yeah.
And you like go to Harvard, but you're stuck in
She's
like
the smartest out of
Vancouver.
all of
Yeah,
us. Yeah.
yeah. Out of all us, the smartest person here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fucking totally kicking my ass.
No.
But like, what are you up to? Probably like working equations and shit, right?
Yeah. And observing different types of leaves and
Yeah.
Collecting them in your gallery.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so actually I do miss going to school because Cambridge actually has really pretty foliage in the fall. So just to stick it in there, we go to Vermont every fall. We take a road trip into Vermont, which is about like an hour and a half drive outside of Cambridge, and you see the prettiest, like I bet you all the fall foliage pictures that you see on Instagram, like the ones in your suggested posts or your highlights, like there's a large chance of that it's from Vermont. It's known for foliage. Anyways, I am, in Canada. I am continuing some of the work that I've been doing throughout college. So I'm in a social psychology lab, and I've been in there since sophomore year. So we're currently, my professor is trying to publish something come next spring. So we're trying to help him gather more analyses
Leaves.
on that. Yeah, exactly. And then it's pretty.
So Alex has found an easy target for his shit
No,
jokes.
no.
I love it though. I love like digging into the nicks and crannies of stuff. And I love human psychology as a whole. I was gonna concentrate it in it, but then I was like a little bit guilty because I promised my parents I would learn something more useful. So then I went to major in economics and then a minor in psychology. But basically now the lab work takes up most of my time and I'm the happiest about. So that I've been busy with. I am involved in this startup that is actually in Singapore. It's a startup that was started by a startup accelerator, a seed company, and we have like regular meetings every week. But that's already in the schedule, and I'm used to. And aside from that, just chilling at home with my cat Luca.
Okay, hold on. That's not your cat, right?
It's my cat.
Has Luca's
No,
become
it's
your
her
cat?
cat. Yeah.
It's my cat now.
Wait, I thought Luca was your friend's cat.
Yeah. So.
Well, she adopted a cat.
She's stolen the cat.
Yeah,
She's
literally.
stolen it.
Yeah.
I have. I've taken full ownership of him. It's already discussed. It's already final.
That's great. That's great.
So he's been with me. I mean, I raised him from 10 weeks old. So
Yeah.
I would say like.
All right, don't justify it.
You stole a cat. Just say you
Guilty.
stole it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
I'm his
Guilty.
legitimate mom. Yeah. And then aside from that, my best friend is here. She experienced some visa issues in the States because she's also Canadian. So she flew back to Vancouver, where we're from. Like we grew up together, went to school here, from DC. So she's now in Vancouver, and we're gonna be here celebrating Christmas. And
That's so
Very nice.
yeah,
Very
that's it.
nice. Actually, just going back to Long Long's what you're saying about, it's nice to be alone. I was talking to Adrian from Bark and Jack, the YouTube channel, right? So Adrian Barker, and he's following our stories, and he was just saying, you know, Long Long seems to have an amazing life of going all to these like watch events and seeing all these watches and eating great food and stuff like that. And in the back of my mind, I was thinking, I did actually tell him, I said, yeah, it's not cracked out to be what it is. Like, like I thought you would know, like, because I thought he would have had exposure to it, but I was like, it's not always as enjoyable as it might look on Instagram. And I think that's a key part for our listeners to also know. Like, when we are posting on Instagram, it's a very limited window into our lives. And I'm glad they enjoy the content. I get some funny interactions. But sometimes it isn't cracked up to be what it is. And you might think that's pretty rich coming like from people that can actually do it, right? Maybe you don't have that lifestyle. But yeah, trust me, it isn't. Right.
Yeah.
Right. So I don't know, like, whether or not I asked this question in previous like podcasts, but anyway, I thought I'd put it in there. What has everyone added to their watch collection this year? So let's start off with Alex.
Oh, hello. Well, I've added.
Oh, hi, Alex.
Hello. I was like, oh, okay. I added a Grand Seiko. So the two watches that I really wanted to get into this year was actually an Oris and a Grand Seiko. So I think having spoken to several people like Lewis, I think that his influence is quite big on me for Grand Seiko. And then speaking to Daniel about Oris, I thought I'll make a pop. So I got the Oris Aquis, which is a diver's watch, 7653. Then I also have a Grand Seiko SGBE255, which is the blue ceramic GMT watch, spring drive movement. And I think what appealed to me on that watch was, first of all, I wanted to get a spring drive because I think that's what Grand Seiko is relatively famous for. I quite liked how the lugs, because normally Grand Seikos have these lugs which articulate and become wider than the case, which I don't particularly like.
Yeah.
You know, I think it ruins the watch. It makes it look fat.
Yeah,
like
it's same for me. Yeah, it's their signature case.
Right.
But I don't like it.
It's quite ugly, isn't it? But no, the Skyflake, which is the light baby blue, has normal lugs, which I was considering that one. But I think ultimately I like the GMT aspect with the with the functions, how it's laid out. So yeah, I've been enjoying them quite a lot, I must say.
Cool.
Okay. How about you, Jaclyn?
Well, I was gonna ask Alex a question.
Yeah, go for it.
Skyflake is the only one out of the like spring drive collection that doesn't have that case.
Yes, I believe the other spring drive movements, whether a diver's watch or the Snowflake, they have kind of, if you imagine the case around the 3 and 9, it just seems to extend out.
Right.
Whereas the Skyflake has just normal lugs that just have normal dimensions.
I don't think I've ever realized that because I always thought like Grand Seiko cases were the traditional like flared out, like wider.
Right.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so that one's slightly different. And also I love the hour markers. So they're straight, whereas the one I have, unfortunately, is kind of like triangularized and the hands aren't as nice. So it was a real tough choice. The Skyflake's a great watch. I mean, I might consider getting that later.
Right.
When
How are you getting on with the watches though?
Yeah, when have you been wearing them?
I have been wearing them. I do wear them.
Like, do you wear them to work or on the weekend?
So Grand Seiko, the bracelet's nasty. I mean, I think what Seiko lack is kind of that finesse. So they're very good at details, but they just don't know how to package it to make it all amalgamate and go cleanly together. So the bracelet that was given was pretty bad. I mean, it felt really cheap, honestly. So I just replaced it with one of those beads of rice ones, and it seemed to make it makes it look a lot more easy on the eyes.
Yeah,
and it's very nice to wear, I must say.
Right.
The Oris one, well, I bought a white watch actually, so it's quite hard to wear in the wind. Well, you could wear it when it's
snowboarding.
Don't be racist, but no,
don't be racist, Alex.
Man,
Alex is so racist. Like, we're on air now.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
So anyway, sorry. So basically, it's a lot easier to wear in summer and maybe the winter, like snowboarding. But I think like every other
It's
time. It
winter
doesn't quite
already,
fit.
huh?
And also, yeah. So well, it kind of fits. It kind of fits the vibe. But it's a big watch. I have to say, it's like 43 mil, so it's quite
Wow.
substantial. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm surprised
kind
you've
of like
gone
my-
that big, mate. 43. Like,
Well, it's kind of
so
like my
like
beat
not-
to watch, you know, like,
Okay.
you know, when you go out to like the boat or something, or you go out, you know, sand
You have a
beach,
boat?
and you don't want you.
Obviously,
No, I don't have
he
a
does.
boat.
Obviously,
Yeah,
James
obviously,
Bond,
yes,
man.
obviously, I
James
do
Bond.
have a. I have one of those hydrofoils, isn't it?
All right.
Yeah, so I think so. Those are it. So I wear them like when I go to work, and I wear them on the weekend. So they're helpful.
Okay. All right. So thanks for all that boring shit. Let's hear some
Yeah,
more
no.
interesting shit from Jaclyn.
Let's get some more interesting watches out there. Excuse me, they're your recommendations, Daniel, coming from you.
Yeah, no,
Boring
I'm
shit
joking.
from your recommendation.
Okay, yeah, okay. I just wanted to take a pop at him. That's all, for any reason.
wait, but you wear that AP on like a daily basis, right? Like
Oh
that's
yeah.
your driver?
Yeah. My AP I wear 95% of the time. Yeah.
I love
Look,
He
the
wears
insurance
that to
packages
gym.
don't sell themselves. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. He wears that to the wet market, to the gym, like
No, I don't do
all
that.
the time.
No.
to the gym.
No, but to be
seriously?
fair, but to be fair to him, he wears it. Like
Yeah,
it's
he
much
actually
better
wears
than
it.
just buying it, keeping it the stickers on it, and putting it somewhere and not wearing it. So thankfully, he puts that watch to as much usage as he can. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what about you, Jaclyn? Because I know you've had quite a few interesting pieces
Mhm.
come in
You mean this year or recently?
this year.
This
Or
year?
is that just too? Is that is too long a time scale? Because
Yeah.
Wait,
No,
what did
I
I buy this week? Is the
yeah,
correct
probably
term.
like the last
It's
3
like-
months. Yeah.
No, I mean, I had 3 watches like from the year before, so all of my watches have been this year, and I don't want to like bore you guys with like telling you every single one.
There's just too many.
Okay, the special one then. What's the one that you really, really get the most use out of?
The one that I wear the most,
Yeah.
I would say recently have been the Patek 96 and also the Audemars Piguet Tantalum Royal Oak.
Oh,
just-
you got that one. Did you get the championship one, the 36 or 34?
I got the championship that is 33, but it wears
Oh,
like a
33.
36 because Royal Oaks
Okay.
wear bigger. And it's just so easy to wear. It's so comfortable. It's so thin, but it's substantial. And you feel it. So I've been wearing
Is
that.
it quartz or automatic?
It's quartz. The 2 Royal Oaks that I have are all quartz.
Okay.
I don't really care about the mechanics of Royal Oaks because I buy it for the design, like the classic design, the story. Obviously, having a hand wound movement is nice, but I can't find one that fits my wrist properly. So the one that I went to was quartz, and I bought the tantalum first, and then subsequently bought the two-tone, which I really like because it feels like that 80s vibe. And then another Audemars that I've been wearing a little bit is the Quantium Perpetual, which took a long time to acquire and make it here to Canada. I had an eye on that since the beginning of this year, but now they're so hot that I can't find another. So I've been pretty lucky to acquire 2 platinum examples. So one is open work, which is a little bit more modern, and then the other one is a hand frosted Tuscan dial, which Lung Lung and I had a debate over because I swear to God that dial is purple and gray, and she's like, "You're colorblind." Like, I'm sorry that
You gotta send it to me. Let me have a look. Can you send it to me now? Let me have a look. Send it to me now and have a look.
What
I
color
will-
is she
I will
saying
send
it is?
Send it to the group
It's like
chat and let me have a look.
blue.
I
She
see
said it's
purple
blue.
gray.
Send it to me. Send it to me.
I see purple grey too.
Yeah,
But I think we've had this conversation before with Long Long.
we
of colours.
did. And I
Maybe
haven't
it's all the colored contacts I'm wearing. Go colorblind.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
Jaclyn, send it
But
to our group chat on.
I
Then
think,
I'll have a look.
I think we should also mention that the watches Jaclyn is talking about, they're not the Royal Oak shape. So they're the circular case Quantium Perpetuals, vintage watches. One is open worked and one has a Tuscan dial, which is like a hammer tone effect. And Philips recently sold one in a Royal Oak case. So that's the one that she's talking about. Yeah,
Which I love
it-
because it's.
but I think the main problem is that watch, it changes color depending on the light. So
How
it's
is this
very.
not blue, guys?
Have you sent it, Jaclyn?
I
Let's have a
have.
look.
Yeah,
Let's have a
it's in
look.
our group chat.
Okay, let's have a look.
That's blue. That's like a grey blue. That is like a grey.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
grey
thank
blue.
you.
There is the
It's a
great.
It's like
blue.
slate
Yeah.
grey. It's like slate grey. It's kind of like the
Yeah.
It's a grey blue. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's
on-
more blue than purple.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely blue. That's definitely that's
Silence.
definitely blue. That's definitely
I see
Silence.
blue.
purple gray. I see purple gray. So.
Well, bring
Oh,
it next
Chester's
time.
listening.
Yeah.
Bring it
It's
next
just
Definitely
like
time.
blue in the group chat.
Hey, Chester's awake.
What he's is that why he just responded? Wait, he's alive.
He's participating.
Right. How about you, Long Long? Anyway.
So I picked up a Cartier.
Yes.
I want to like, okay, so obviously there's this whole story of how I got it, but basically Jaclyn helped me. But honestly, it sounds super cheesy, but there's a lot of memories attached to this watch because usually, well, anyways, with the last few APs I got in Hong Kong, it's just been quite a smooth process, right? But with this watch, it was like I wanted it for a while and then I didn't want it anymore. But then I kind of wanted it again. Well, you know this, Dan knows this. But then when Jaclyn did message me and she found one, I was kind of like, do I really want to actually say out loud, yes, I really want this watch? Or should I just kind of like pretend I don't really care about the watch and then it'll just come to me kind of thing? But when I was like, okay, I'm going for it, from that moment, I said, yes, I'm going for it until I actually got it. I was still not convinced it was ever gonna make it to Hong Kong. So even the part when I was wiring the money, I was like, I knew it was gonna fuck up. Like it's never gonna happen. Blah 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 blah. Until I actually got the box, and even when I got the box, I didn't open it straight away. I was just staring at the box.
What did you think?
And then
I
I even
you over?
No, I was like, no, okay. This is the most amazing thing. Like, if you actually know me really well, I have a really hard time trusting people. So for me to just be like, I have never met you. I know very little, right? And to just be like, yeah, I trust this person, da 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 da. I thought it was really crazy for me, anyways.
Yeah.
And the second thing that sounds super cheesy was the fact that, well, I think Dan knows this. It's really hard for me to connect with girls. And for me to find a girl to be like, okay, she gets me and I trust her and I feel like it's, for lack of a better word, but you function a lot like a guy as well. So it's very logical. Well, like do this, okay, it's this, you update me. And it was so easy to communicate with you that I just felt like this is such a good experience. I have such good memories tied to this watch. And it's really funny because obviously, you know, between us, like we joke about how that watch came to be and the amount of work that went into getting that watch. So I have just super good memories.
Aren't you so glad that you got that watch though? Because for those who are listening, Lung got the CPCP monopusher, or in French, it's monopoussoir.
Monopoussoir, yeah.
In Blanc Argent, which is white gold, and with the blue subdials and the big Roman 12 in blue, the guilloche dial. Something that I've been lusting over for, I mean, like Dan knows this, right? Because we talked about it. And then the process of getting it was just
painful.
It was painful. I had to kiss ass multiple times continuously. And so, yeah, and I was just happy that Lung got it because actually through that, I ended up getting its sub counterpart, which is the yellow gold piece, which I didn't think I would love because I'm more of a white metal person with my watches. I love it. It's so classic, it's so traditional, and the size of the tortue case, again, my first time seeing it in person, I love it. So yeah,
I think that watch comes in quite a few configurations, and I think Long Long has my favorite configuration.
Yeah.
I remember back in the day when she was still like very early deciding, and it was she posted a picture of a Urban Jensen and a yellow gold and this piece. He said, which one looks great? And I don't know, maybe I'm biased, but I see that girl put on things on her wrist, and I just think, fuck, man, you just made it look fucking amazing. You know, like it just looks fucking good. Like even the Urban Jensen, I was like, that looks good too. Like it was such a hard choice to say which one looks. It's really hard when she puts a watch on that isn't oversized for me to think that looks shit. Like inevitably, she makes the watch look good. So and some people,
I
I
have
guess,
to go back to something else. You know how we were going up, like getting this watch showed me something. You know how there's the saying, like everyone has a price, and like I feel like when you put people in very difficult situations, you can really see what they're like. Like
Yep.
you can really test a personality, right? And
Yeah.
I've always been very chilled, like, okay, whatever. If it's not mine, it's not mine kind of thing. But the funny thing was, I know how hard it is for Jaclyn to kiss ass, like to a guy, right? But I remember being like, no, you go, you, you have to do this. Because it was all so fucking selfish at that point. Like, I need that watch. She better do this and she better say this.
Yeah, you better kick ass,
So-
take your clothes off, stick your tongue in, do whatever you have to do to get me this fucking watch.
So I had to kiss some serious ass, and I'm never enthusiastic in emails. But every time I reply to that guy, which he's a sweet dude, he's older gentleman, but he's a great guy and has a lot of cool stuff, and like he can find a lot of cool stuff. But every time I send him an email and I read it back to me, I'm like, Jaclyn, you can make this more enthusiastic. Like you can make it sound like you're happier.
Add this on this. Add
And
this.
you count the exclamation marks I use in that one email. It could be just 2 sentences. I use like 20 exclamation marks. Like, hey,
Thank you with 2 lines of exclamation marks and an emoji.
yeah. And I'm really quick to respond too. And I make sure if I get a reply on Friday or Thursday, I don't reply on Friday because he's probably going to forget about me over the weekend. So I reply to him on Monday really early. I schedule it, send. So I send it like when I'm sleeping, but I schedule it really early because I know he wakes up and he's going to read it.
Isn't
All
that
your
amazing?
psychological books, all in good use now. Like all in good use.
Yeah. But
So
I'm
like,
happy.
yeah, go on.
No, I'm happy. I've never really helped other people find watches before, and I knew how much Long wanted this. I also really wanted this, but it was just I promised Long, like the first piece that I see, I'm gonna try. And to be honest, I didn't know it was gonna work out, right? Because the shipping thing, like he was so strict about it, but then we made it work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also, during this process, Jaclyn has also told me, it meant so much that as a first piece she got somebody, it was you, Long Long. Like,
Oh my gosh.
that it was like, she was so, I'm not sure if she expressed it like fully to you, but I can tell you she was like over the moon to be able to do that for
Gosh.
you. Yeah.
This is so amazing.
And I messaged Long when so to those who are listening, that watch just sold at I think 2 auctions.
I know. It's insane because when I first looked at the watch, I go back into my photo album. It was around June. And I remember I found one on a Russian website and it was about 13K US. And then I was like, I messaged them. I think they're called Fraser House or something. And they were like, yeah, it's sold. And it was really short, like the time period. And then when I got the price from Jaclyn, I was thinking, well, it's only been a few months and it's gone up so much. And I know if I don't get it, I'm still going to get it anyways, right? So just don't even think about it. Just get it first. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's about buying it at the right price. And to be honest, if it's a piece that's really never going to leave your collection, you're never going to make the money off it anyway, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of just get it. Yeah. And it's not a huge difference. And you got a really, really good example of one. Like in terms of
Yeah.
condition, you got the box with it, full set. It's fantastic. I look forward to seeing that
Also,
in
look
person.
real number, if that matters.
Yeah. I'm can't wait till the day like when COVID is over, right? That we can all meet, and then we can finally be like see the watches
See these
next to each
pieces.
other. Yeah.
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 Please,
We
that
can see if it's blue or purple, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's great also on a personal level. Like, just going back to quite a bit earlier where Long Long said she doesn't always bond with girls. Like,
Yeah.
forget going deep with girls, just getting on with girls is a problem for her. Like,
Yeah.
not even like, forget that part. Like, so
Yeah.
I had a good feeling, between you two. So yeah, hopefully
When
that
Jaclyn
continues.
recommended me foot mask, foot mask that make your feet peel, I was like, yeah, me and her, we're gonna get them.
chemical feels. Which I recommend to the two gentlemen here. Probably need it more than us.
Anyway, back to watches. Like, from where you were at the beginning of the year, did you think that you've got your pieces now? Did any of your tastes change, or any of your like watch journey, or any of your development in watches change this year? Because the reason I ask is I spent a lot of time in Hong Kong, and I spent a lot of time with Philips Watch House, and I got to really, really get in touch with a lot of the pieces there. And for me, kind of right now, at least, because your watch journey changes, I have some clarity. So I kind of got really bored of seeing almost everything. And you can't really see all the vintage watches because they're so rare, and they just keep becoming rarer. And to understand a bit more what it's about, it seems to be like a direction where I thought, do you know what? This is probably where I want to go to eventually. So much so that I feel that, even my decision of probably eventually getting a Patek Perpetual Chrono, whether the 5970 or the 5270, I would pick the 5970, and I see the 3448, and I see, these amazing pieces. And I think, do you know what? Like, it really hits a lot of boxes that I need, which is not everyone knows what it is, but it's super elegant, beautiful. It's limited. It's super exclusive. For people that do know what it is, they have to have an element of high knowledge of what I'm wearing. So it hits all of that kind of stuff. And I don't think on the modern market, there are enough pieces like that. So, for me, it was about understanding vintage a lot more, and just having more clarity in what I want to achieve. I'm way more focused. Before it was like, oh, not really, and then just became really focused. So I was wondering, like, if you guys had any developments in your watch journey. You might not have. It might have just stayed the same. Maybe you can go again, Alex.
Yeah, I quite like Daniel's comment. I think for me, this podcast has actually helped me a lot. Like, you get to have a real deep understanding of watches in general. And I've come to appreciate all sorts of watches now. So before, you would probably be focused on one or two brands per se. But now you just kind of come to appreciate that any piece that before you might go, I'll never touch that in a million years. This time you just go, okay, I'll have a look at it. There must be something about it which is launched by the watchmaker, etc. For me, I've come to appreciate, so even like Aurus's, the Grand Seikos. I'm still a big fan of AP. I just think purely because of that. If you want to talk about watches aesthetics, I think for designs, it's certainly within our generation probably the most iconic. I haven't gone down the road of vintage yet, which I would like to later on. But I think the podcast has helped really understand many different characters and how a watch might fit me, regardless of price or brand, really.
Yeah, good answer. Right. How about you, Jaclyn?
I mean, you guys know this. I've always been vintage over modern. Starting from the beginning. I mean, I quickly made the shift. And for me, over this past year, it was acquiring pieces that I liked subjectively. And it was an interesting journey because coincidentally, most of the pieces that I had bought without really knowing much about the market, if you look at them now, have increased quite a bit over the past like year or 6 months. Like going back to the topic of the Quantium Perpetual, I mean, I bought that. So I made a deal on that at the beginning of this year around March because I saw it, and from a very objective standpoint, I felt it was undervalued for its history, for its craftsmanship, finishing, and complication. And this year has just been teaching me, like, you know, it's so cliche and try to say like, oh yeah, you know, buy what you like, don't consider the investment value. But sometimes maybe looking past the investment side, maybe trying to figure out those really, like, if you look at it objectively, those are objectively rare or objectively undervalued. And if you like that, that is like a learning process in of itself, which was the case for me. So this year was, you know, I acquired my first Audemars piece, and then I've never owned a Patek before. I never thought I would. Then I bought several vintage Patek pieces, which fit into my lifestyle a lot better. And then knowing what to look for, because I still don't think I've got the hang of it just yet. I still like a lot of things for the, you know, history, the story, and the looks of it. But now I'm more, I would say I narrowed down my searches as compared to the beginning of the year, where I only focus on vintage again, smaller pieces, and maybe complications now that I have a perpetual calendar. And I know it's like, it's so cool that digging into like the leap year complication, whereas before I was all about just like time onlys. So yeah, not a big.
I would say, like, I would disagree with you on some area, because I think for someone who hasn't been in the game that long, right, and you haven't, your eye for stuff is fucking on point, man. Like the stuff you like, you know, there's a reason why a lot of the stuff that you have bought has gone like not a little bit above value. Like it's really shot up because you've got the eye. You've really got the eye for it. Like, I do find it kind of astounding. When I got into watches, right, I was nowhere near what you were doing, like for 100% sure. So you should give yourself a bit more credit. But I mean, another thing is, like for you, your watch journey's been a little bit different because we're relatively quite established within the watch community. We have our watch friends, yeah. And this has been a totally new world for you this year. And how's that been for you?
Totally.
Why are you shaking your head?
Oh, I'm shaking my head because I'm just thinking like I'm missing out on so many things that I wish I were a part of. Auctions to start. Like I never bought a watch there, but like seeing it and then deciding to buy it. All my purchases were done online with people. I don't know who they are. I don't know if I should trust you, but I really want that, and maybe I'll just take a shot. So I've never seen the watch before it's shipped to me and I opened the box. And
that's a risk.
it is a huge risk. And I mean, this year has just been crazy. The amount of information that were exposed to, the people, amazing people that I met, and also just how lucky I got with some of these pieces, because I could never afford like some of them now if I were to buy them at the current market value. And it's been fun to see how the market has evolved. So this is like my first year, right? And I don't know if it's like this every year where there are drastic changes in the market. So I think the first drastic change I experienced was the Chronometre Blue, the FP Journe, which I bought for $26,000 this time last year. And they are how much now? Like I don't even know. So, and then the second was how lucky I was, and I have to thank my friend Jennifer for this. I traded that in for the Cartier Crash. Again, did not know what was happening, never traded a watch in my entire life. Thought it was trustworthy because it was with an auction house. And now look at like that market. I could never buy that with, you know, I could never spend that much money on that watch, you know? And then I just got so lucky, and I'm so thankful. And I mean, the people who I've asked for help along the way about pieces and about, you know, dealing with other people, it's taught me a lot. It's taught me that this community and this like watch kind of acquisition process isn't just all fun and about the money, the value. It's also about the people that you meet, the connections, and the story that you build together and the relationship. So
how did you interact with those sources? Because for most people, like you mentioned, you've never seen the watch and you made that bold move to buy it. So how did you trust on that source? Did you do any due diligence, vetting, or you just went, you know what, screw it, just put the money down and let's see what happens?
So obviously do the due diligence beforehand.
Right.
So see if they're a trusted source. How many watches have they sold? Do they have an Instagram? Do they have a website? Do they have an actual storefront? Right? If things were to go wrong, can I actually go physically and track them down?
Okay.
And but aside from that, you can only do so much. I'd say you can only do up to like 60-70%. The rest, I mean, you just gotta pay for it and see if the dude screws you over or not. But I've realized, you know, through talking to them, mostly over, you know, text or emails, like you do get a sense of who they are, and if things are a little bit edgy and a little bit iffy, you know, we're all humans, we can pick it up. So in that case, like I had to take a risk, but I'm lucky I didn't get screwed over. I know tons of people who have had been scammed. There are scammers out there, but yeah.
What about you, Alex? Do you cross-reference before you make a purchase?
I mean, okay, so I actually have an animation to make. I've never really brought a piece from auction or a used piece onto the calibers that you guys gone into. So I'm actually very new to it all. So the way I do it, most of my watches are actually new. So they are modern pieces.
Yeah.
How about you, Long? So how was this experience for you? Because you have had some experience. You've been to auctions before, right?
Yeah, I'm really old-fashioned. Like even with my like shopping, I like to actually go and touch and see the thing. So this with like buying, like using Jaclyn and everything has been very new to me. But I also realized in the process that I used to be really intimidated to message people, especially older men with big accounts on Instagram, because I would just think there's no way this person's going to reply me.
Yep.
But I think more recently, I've just been like, I'm just going to ask whatever. If this person doesn't reply me, so be it, you know? And I thought about it. I'm like, at the end of the day, most watch people who have Instagram accounts, really watch heavy accounts, they're probably really lonely. That's why they're doing this. Like they're starting an account to connect with people. So they're probably dying to share a lot of the knowledge, and they want to help. So I started reaching out to more people to ask questions, just very detailed stuff I wanted to know about watches, and they have all been really, really helpful. So yeah.
So has your watch
Mm-hmm.
purchase kind of process just been like pretty much in person? So you see something you like, and then before you make
100%. Because even with clothes, I was telling someone recently, like I still struggle with buying clothes online because it just stresses me out doing returns. So most of the time when something's the wrong size, I actually just end up keeping it. I'm just so old fashioned that way. And with watches, I kind of like I kind of want to be so sure. So I want to see it several times, different days, different mood and everything.
See, that is so
Yeah.
foreign to me. I wish I could do
Yeah.
that. I wish I could do that, but in the maybe in the future.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, like
Um,
I've never gone
mhm.
watch shopping physically.
It's so strange, like thinking about how different your experience has been.
It's so different. It's completely different. So,
Right.
yeah.
But I want to actually, let's go back to the other question. So, for London, has, your collecting philosophy changed over the last year?
Not at all. Like I think, if anything, I've just become more sure about
Mm,
being very confident with this is just the way I collect. Like maybe yes, I don't collect within a certain theme, a certain complication, a certain material. Like I'm comfortable with that. And I think
Okay.
if I think back to about a year ago, I used to always question my eye for things. Like
mm,
I'm not saying that I can spot when it's a good piece or not, but I used to think I really like this piece. I like the design. I understand it. And then someone will make a comment and I'll actually just kind of withdraw and be like, yeah, this person has been collecting double the amount of time as me.
mm,
So they must know what they're talking about. But all the times I've listened to my gut and I thought this is timeless. I can see myself wearing this in 20 years.
mm,
It's always been a really good choice. And every time I've worn a certain piece that I felt that way about, people have always said, this is so you.
mm, mm.
So I think over time you develop a certain kind of taste and people, I think I
Oh,
said
I
this
love
to you,
that. I
Jaclyn,
love
like you
that.
see a
Yeah.
watch and then you want to send it to that person and you want to be like, this is so you.
So you.
And and I can
Yeah.
totally start to see that now with when I see a piece and I'm like, this is me. And
Yeah.
I don't really care what people think anymore. Like
Yeah.
I'm really sure about it.
That's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
good.
I think a lot of people, I know I certainly did when I was listening to
Yeah.
your episode of the podcast, and this is again
Mm-hmm.
from like an audience member. I remember you used a really great analogy. You were like, it's like redecorating your house. You just
Yeah.
paint the walls, everything is blank. What pieces of furniture do you add? Because, we don't want to add too much, but we want everything to be so purposefully curated and such staples in our house, in our room, that
Yeah.
it's when you walk in, it's like, oh, this is Lung's house, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought that was so nicely said, and it made a lot of sense to me, and it taught me how to kind of look at watch collecting through your point of view. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, you know how just now with Christian, we were talking about dealers, like watch dealers. I think in the beginning, a lot of people always try and justify, like, I'm not a dealer, I'm not selling da 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 and all this. But I'm kind of at that point now that I don't even need to justify if I do ever sell anything, or I'm just very comfortable being like, I am just curating my collection. I don't really care. You know, if I have to let some things go, like, so be it. Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Right. But do you think,
So,
like, let's
yeah.
say you were to let something go and
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, which like where would you let it go? Like, would you go to a dealer, or would you try to sell it off online or privately, or someone who wants it and you just sell it to them? Because, okay, and I'll tell you that why
Yeah.
I'm asking.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
recently sold a Cartier Tank Louis because
Mm-hmm.
it was a little bit redundant with what I have
Mm-hmm.
currently.
Mm-hmm.
I had two pieces. Now I have
Mm-hmm.
one. And
Well, you had two tanks. Sorry. You had two Cartier tanks.
so I had two Cartier Tank Louis in
Okay.
platinum.
Sorry.
One
Okay.
was my first ever Cartier, so there's no way, from a sentimental like standpoint, there's no way I'm letting that go. And the other one was a limited edition, like a superb example of a CPCP Tank Louis with like guilloche
Mm.
rosette dial. It's beautiful. So I
Mm-hmm.
let that go to a fellow collector in Singapore, actually.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I got a random message the other
You
day.
should be in Singapore Singapore. Like your intern's Singapore and your watch sellings are in Singapore. You should just be everywhere Lung Lung is.
Yeah, no, I'm so jealous right now. I wish I could have some salted egg chicken, but and I'm not there.
I'll send you the powder. I think they have the powder, and you can just coat your KFC.
It's like
That'll do the job.
Own, like fish skin too, and deep fry it.
Yes.
Oh my God.
No, but sorry. So you said this other fellow in Singapore, you sold the watch.
Yeah, no, I
CPCP
I sold the watch to him because he's also like a really big Cartier fan, and this random person DM'd me and was like, "How come you haven't been posting about that? Or like, where has that watch gone to?" And I was like, "Oh, I sold."
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
and they were so offended by it, and I was like, it's my watch. I can do whatever the hell I want with it. Why are you offended because I sold my watch? Oh, it's because you don't like it enough. Like you only bought it to sell later on.
Oh shit! You had that already. You had that kind of comment of you buying and selling already. Hilarious.
Yeah, and I'm just like, come on. And then there's another fellow who Lung and I both know, also in Singapore. Also in Singapore.
Dude, let me go hunt the shit.
Yeah.
Find them.
No, and we would always have these conversations, and he would ask me, "Oh, how much did you buy this for?" Or like, "Where did you find that?" And I would tell him, and he was like, "Wait, Jaclyn, why are you telling me all this?" I was like, what do you mean? And he's like, people are so private about this stuff, like how much they paid, how much they sold. I'm like, why like, I understand, but it's fine to be private, but it's being so secretive and pretend like they never sell, which is not the case because we don't have unlimited cash flow, right? Like, I'm actually very open about what I have, what I don't have. I have to sell to buy more. My taste change, my taste evolve. It's perfectly natural, but it's like almost taboo to talk about, if you're a collector, to talk about, oh, you've sold pieces, you don't like it, you're not a true collector.
I know. I'm all for sharing how much I paid for something, because I just think if you make it super transparent, right, you're helping other people understand if they're overpaying or underpaying. And if I feel like I overpaid for something, I will even tell them I paid a little bit extra for box and papers, If everyone was just transparent, it'll be amazing. Like, the prices will be lower, you know?
In my opinion, but I understand why, but it's just like when people pretend that they never sell, and I know people who like take photos just so they can post later to.
Exactly. Yeah.
We know all the same people, mate. We all know all the same people, and when it comes to the pricing thing that Lung Lung just said, in Hong Kong, there's kind of like this brownie points you get rewarded, apparently, if you got a watch cheaper than it should have been, because it just shows you're a bit better than me. But then when you say, yeah, I have to pay extra for it, I don't really care, it's like their face is like, huh? What do you mean you don't really care? Huh? How am I supposed to respond to that? But you're supposed to look at me. Look at me. I can get it cheaper.
Yeah.
But I don't care. And it's like, huh? You know what I mean? It's like something didn't work in their head.
Yeah.
It's like, that guessing game when they say, like, guess how much this costs, and you give them some crazy ass number. They just have nothing to respond back to you, really. They're like, oh,
it's definitely strong in Hong Kong, that price thing. Like, first of all, knowing prices. Like, you got people that don't know the price of every single watch, pretending they do. Right? Like, it's some, like, because they think it's some, I have a greater knowledge thing than you, and then it's a pricing thing on the, like, I can get it cheaper, and it's like, okay, well done to you, but I got mine for this price and I'm quite happy with it. But talking about the people, and that, I think it fits in quite nicely to the people we've had on this this podcast, right? Did any of the interviews we have leave any impact on you from a watch point of view or from a personal point of view? So let's again start off with Alex, because I know the other two like a bit of thinking time.
I want a bit of thinking time. Can you help me out?
Okay. All right. I'll go then.
Yeah, okay.
Because I don't know if you noticed, I didn't answer any of my own questions. Right. So I'm such a giver. Yeah, in lots of ways.
Whatever
in lots
you
of
say.
ways. I'm such a giver in lots of ways,
Really?
It's not all about me.
You won't even
It's not
show
about
your
me.
fries, so
It's not about me.
Yeah.
I will say, you know, I'm quite happy to share the core center of a Cinnabon with anybody without, you
whatever.
know, getting upset about it.
Would you share the tip of the watermelon?
Yeah, totally. I'm a sharer. I'm a giver. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
But
whatever.
anyway, the
But
answer to the question for me,
mhm,
the one that comes up recently is actually
mhm,
Nicholas Hirsch.
mhm.
Yeah,
Okay.
because I met that dude and I did a private call with him to get to know him
Yeah.
better to formulate the interview.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's probably listening to this podcast, but I was a little bit worried, yeah, of the actual recording,
Oh, yeah.
that
Yeah.
it was going to be a bit difficult. And that's no disrespect to Nicholas, although it is. But
Mhm.
he obviously English isn't his best language. He speaks very, very quiet. He's softly spoken.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I thought it's going to be really hard to get the energy into this podcast. But
Mhm.
one of the things that really resonated with me is when Lung Lung asked him a question, what's worse in your family, being
Mhm.
lazy, or I can't remember what the other thing is.
Not finishing something like or not being entrepreneurial.
Yeah, not being
Yeah.
entrepreneur. Yeah, and you
Yeah.
already kind of said the answer. He said neither of
Yeah.
the two.
Yeah.
It's not starting what you finished.
Yeah.
And for a family that has passed on generational wealth in 4 generations, out of all the mottos or themes or things that they could carry across,
Mm.
that was the most key. And I
Yeah.
thought, wow, you know, like they're all entrepreneurs, and the
Yeah.
entrepreneurial, maybe the sauce, the hot
Mhm.
sauce, is in Chinese, 我们说坚持, persistence, and
Mhm.
seeing something through that you started. So that particular episode, I didn't expect it to be a really great one for me. But when I was listening to it, he's softly spoken but confident.
Yeah.
He is humble. Like he
Mhm.
actually encompasses a lot of things that I would aspire to be and fail
Yeah.
miserably at.
Yeah.
So that was a kind of a key one. Obviously, I enjoyed a lot of the ones we did with Adrian from Bark and Jack and
Mhm.
Swiss Watch Gang and
So
Cole.
chill. Yeah,
Cole were
very chill.
good. Yeah, very chill as a conversational. But to one for me to go away and think about it, and it made me very positive. So that one was the one that kind of recently, at least, made an impact on me.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you guys got your answers yet? I gave you
I
enough time there.
have. Yeah, you did. Yeah, you helped me out a lot. So
Yeah.
I just did a quick scan. So whilst Dan was talking, thing is, I agree with like Nicholas's one. I do appreciate that comment, but also I do want to challenge that because I don't want to just agree with everything. Some of the most important decisions you have to make in life is actually have to know when to give up. So when you're persisting on something and you know
Mhm.
that it's not really leading you anywhere, you do have to have that courage, take your ego out of the way and go, do you know what? It's not getting you anywhere. It's best to take a step
Mhm.
back and look in another direction. So I think if you've made a commitment, let's say, and you spent, I think what he's trying to say is if you've made a real strong decision to do something and you've
Mhm.
analyzed it and you think that this is the best thing going forward, then for sure pursue it. But sometimes
Mhm.
if the world is changing around you, then you may have to make another decision. Now, I would say the one that I'm not saying it because she's in the room, but the one that really got me was actually Long Long's. So I would say no, because I just think of all the conversations we've had, and we had some incredible conversations. The one that left an impression that gave you like hairs at the back of your neck was when you were talking in the sense that from your perspective, how you was growing up and being very real and kind of sharing your personal story, I think is very touching.
Which
So I
part?
would say the one that I just think the part where amongst friends and she'll be in the car, she'll reflect her life. I mean, I've heard the story before, but for her to vocally say it was really quite something. And I think the way the way she reads a lot, the way she dissects and thinks things beyond face value, you can sense that this lady is someone who really pays attention to a lot of things and does analyze. One that I did enjoy. I mean, I think unfortunately we haven't got him on the pod. He's not shown yet, but the one I did enjoy was a close friend of ours, which I'll have to digress when we have the right to launch it. But he'll know who we're talking about here, basically.
Yeah.
So that one was the most enjoyable.
Okay.
Wait, just to the person that we're talking about, he's based in Hong Kong, right?
Yes, he is. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah. We had dinner with him quite recently.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, I know who you're
okay.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jaclyn would love him, man.
Yeah.
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 I have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
we
we're
can't
talking
disclose him. We
secrets.
can't disclose
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. He's a guy that I've said many times, like, I mean, I sound like I've just got no life and I just aspire to everybody, but he is really a proper gent.
Yeah.
It's just a classy guy, you know? And when I say inspire, you want to be like that when you're older. Like, there's no part where you think, oh, I don't want to be like that, right?
Yeah.
It's like, if I could be half of that, I'd be like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Like I made it. Yeah.
Yeah,
If
I
I
made
can
it.
have 10% of that in a bottle. Yes.
And
I'll
I don't
take
mean
it. How much?
I don't mean he owns the room or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's the way he carries himself. It is just something. And I'm sure, Jaclyn, you'll meet him soon. But go on, Long. What's your
I feel so I have 3 people, but I feel so cheesy saying this because that person that Alex just mentioned, like, okay, so he's also one of them, and he's probably going to be listening to this and be like, oh, these people are kissing my ass or whatever.
Yeah, what do they want?
Yeah, but my takeaway from this guy might be a little bit different, and I don't think it even crossed his mind that this is the kind of impact that he left for me, right? Because when I truly think something, and I'm actually with the person, sometimes I find it really hard to actually express it to him or her because I'm a bit shy, right? But I think when I did the interview with him, I was actually thinking in my head, I can be a bit reckless with my words and what I say, and I'll care about the consequences. So I'll say something and be like, well, too bad if this person hates me. But I realized when I listened to him speak, he was very careful, not because he was hiding stuff, but he realized the impact of words. And I wanted to be able to do that with the way I speak. I wanted to, like, I reminded myself, you should be more careful with what kind of words you use because
Considered.
because they do hurt people and they do have an impact on people. And you can't just say whatever you feel like saying and not care about the consequences. So that was my big takeaway from him. And yeah, like me too, he is someone that inspires a lot of younger kids and almost I would say almost mentors them without even knowing it. And I want that. Like, that's something that's a big dream of mine. Not deliberately, like, I got to set up a foundation kind of thing, but you touch people in a way that you don't even realize. So,
wow,
like, he's one of them.
I can't wait to listen to the episode.
He mentors in a way where I don't know if he does it. He knows he's doing it because
he doesn't even know. Yeah.
But you observe, right? You observing him. He's not even a person of many words, but you're observing him, and he's an older gentleman as well. So he's not that old.
He's not like that. Can you retract
that word right there? It's like
he's older than us. He's older than us.
A couple of years, give or take.
What's the path of life a bit further than us? And I think leading by example, you know, he's one of those people, and you just observe and I'd never seen him put a foot wrong. And but at the same time, you never feel it's calculated. Yeah. So it's a very rare thing to find. It's a pleasure that, you know, he sees me as a friend. Yeah. It's an honor.
He doesn't.
Okay, so when it comes to watches, he doesn't give a shit as long as he gets his pieces before you.
Yeah. Okay, so
who are the other two? Yeah.
Okay, so one's Jaclyn, one's Alex. I know it's cheesy, right? Okay, but I'll tell you why though. because even with all the motivational talk videos I watch on YouTube, I realize I'm really drawn to the people that push me in a really in a way that's almost competitive. So I don't go for the whole nurturing, like love yourself, be easy on yourself. I don't buy into that. I'm more like, get your shit together, just get it done.
Yeah,
And
I'm the same.
when I did my interview, so when I did you, Alex, and then when I listened to Jaclyn, all I was thinking after I was done was, these people are younger than you and look at what they have achieved. Like, you need to get your shit together. You need to do this, you need to do that. Especially, I think the age gap between me and Jaclyn, it made me think, man, what this girl is doing. Like, imagine when she reaches my age. Like, holy shit, you know?
Make yourself
So
sound like we're so far apart.
no, but it's just
In
really
age group,
amazing.
yeah, we are though.
Yeah, and it's really
I don't
amazing.
feel
And
that way,
I
though.
just, yeah, like, no, you're like an old soul. Like, that's a fact. But the thing is, to like, it's two things, right? One, you're happy, like, I'm really happy seeing that, oh, there's hope. Like, there are people like you who are really young, who have very clear you might not have a very clear direction exactly what you want to do and everything right now, but at least you're going, your view in life and your optimism and the way you live your life is everything that I wish I had knew when I was your age. So you and Alex both just kind of keep me in check. So every time, I was talking to Dan about this, when you're in Hong Kong for a while, you're in a little bubble and you kind of keep yourself really busy. You meet the same people, you're busy, you go for dinner, all this, but you get lost and you kind of lose direction in life and you don't really know what you're chasing. And it makes you kind of like a mean person, you know? So now and then when I remember like people like you and Alex, I kind of go, okay, you have a goal in life. These are the things that you want to achieve. This is your timeline. Like, time is running out. You gotta keep going, you know? So it keeps me super inspired. So yeah, those are the three people.
I mean,
Thank you.
yeah.
Jaclyn, try and be a bit original and
Adventurous.
don't say
Yes. Yeah.
Alex and fucking Lung Lung. Yeah.
Well, I was going to, but
No, you can't say that. No, you can't. No, just pick the other
All right,
two.
well-
Pick someone else. Pick someone
Yeah.
else.
No, but if you are though, no, there's got to be a reason for it. So let's hear it.
okay. So, I mean, Alex was one of the first guests to be on,
Mhm.
right?
He was really, really early. Yeah.
Yeah, he was super early. So one of the first I've ever listened to. And going back to what I was saying in the beginning, when Dan, you were asking me, oh, from an audience perspective, like what draws you in to the podcast? I am a pretty emotional person. I get really attracted to personal stories, behind the scenes, things that you don't necessarily tell everyone and nobody really like knows a lot about. So I was really inspired by Alex's his work regimen, his growing up story, and just how hard he pushes himself, and he really has that focus in life into getting where he wants to go, and he knows exactly how to do so. And that's what I really need at this point of my life, because I mean, I get a lot of family pressure from my parents because I don't know exactly what I want to do. And I guess they just want to take the weight off their shoulders by me telling them, Mom, here's exactly where I'm going to be 5 years from now. And here's exactly what I'm going to do. So they don't worry about me. Not that they do, but I think they just want me to tell them exactly what I want to do. So they know themselves, which how can I when I don't even have a clear direction? And so that's, I could relate a lot to that when Alex, like with his mental, his way of thinking and doing things. With Lung, it was, I didn't know, again, your personal story, right? I didn't know that you identify as, Malaysian, but you grew up in Taiwan and Singapore, and then you went to school in the UK, very international background, which I could relate also. And also what Dan said in yours, like you don't really feel like you're fitting in, right? Which is I do feel that a little bit every time I go back to China. And
Mhm.
not that people say that to me, but I think it's just the way I act. Like, I
Mhm.
remember getting into a taxi once, and then I said thank you on my way out. And then the taxi driver was like, did you did you grow up here? And then I was like, no. No, he was like, oh, 你是从国外回来的吧? And then I was
Mm.
like, oh, yeah, but how do you know? Oh, because we never get thank yous here. And then I
Mm.
was like, really? Like,
Mm.
you can tell that about me from a thank you, but
Mhm.
so I could really relate to that on the different growing up with different backgrounds and moving a lot from a very young age. And then just what Long said, right? Like the title of your episode, Be So Good That They Can't Ignore You. That has
Mm.
always been, I grew up, my family, my parents aren't so competitive. Like they're not, they're go-getters, but they're
Mhm.
not so like,
Mhm.
oh, looking at everyone, like I have to be better than
Mhm.
everyone. So I'm not competitive in that way. But then in high school and in college, when you are surrounded by so many people who are better than you, in not better, but just, you can learn so much from these people. And so many of them have accomplished milestones at the young age that
Mhm.
they are. You kind of do reflect back and say, like, what are you doing with your life? So it was
Mm.
really refreshing when I heard, Long, when you said like it was from a book, right? Like be so good that they can't
Mhm.
ignore you. It doesn't have to be
Mhm.
so good at one thing, right? It could be
Mhm.
being so good at the thing that you are made to do or you genuinely want to do. And
Yeah.
that gave me like reassurance. And then
Mhm.
going to Dan's episode, I'm gonna quickly wrap up my cheesy because cheesy comments. It was um your like way of life, how you were very comfortable with your lifestyle previously as a dentist, right? But then
Mm.
moving from the UK to China to Shanghai, and then switching that lifestyle with your family, like how much courage and how much quiet time it probably needed for you to sit there and think by yourself. You probably thought about a lot of things that you couldn't really share with your family, but it was that switch that really made me feel like you can go after things that you actually really want to do, and that takes a lot of courage. Exactly what Alex said. Sometimes when you're so comfortable, you're making good money, like why do I have to throw that away? Well, because you don't really get much from it, right? You're chasing after something completely different. So
Mhm.
Mm.
again, like just listening to the three of you talk about your personal stories, and and the fact that I know you, so it's like different, right? When I heard you guys talk, it's like, oh, interesting, because I actually have talked to them. I didn't know about this side of their story, versus other
Mm.
guests I've never spoken to. It's just like from an outsider's perspective, whereas I could relate to you guys when you were talking about these stories. But I have to say, like one person that I really, really enjoyed listening to was another guest who was, early on in the podcast, Jonathan,
Oh
and his,
boy, yes,
yeah,
boy,
and
boy.
his story. I remember, like, I don't know how this works. So I have really relational memory where I remember exactly where I was listening to each episode. And I remember
Mm.
when I was
Whoa.
listening to his episode, I was driving downtown, going to Whole Foods. And then it was kind of funny because he's in the like F&B industry, and then I'm like going through Robson. There are a lot of like bars and restaurants there. And then it just hit me, is like, what makes a business successful? Right? Like what makes a bar or a restaurant truly stand out from the others? It takes a lot of
Story.
grit, it takes a lot of creativity, and it takes a lot of risk, which I think Jonathan had and he was willing to
Mhm.
take. So that also was very intriguing to me because I'm not familiar with F&B, but I'm very passionate about food and not drinks because I'm allergic, but yeah, so food in general.
Yes.
Um, but Yeah, he's another person that I really enjoyed listening to. Like just the decoration and this. I think he was like easy style. I thought it was so cool.
Oh, we'll take you. We'll get you to meet him, and then you can go to Dr. Fern's, and
Yeah.
we'll do it together. Like,
Or foxgloves because you can't drink. So foxglove to eat.
yeah. Well, you know,
Wait, can I
we
just say
can
something?
drink.
So, Jaclyn, I'm also allergic to alcohol.
Are you
but
serious?
I think I found, yes. And I
Yeah.
thought, oh, 你是东北人. Of course you can drink like 1 liter of baijiu, right? But you know what? I think I found the secret. Is Chester still listening? Because if you drink really fucking expensive red wine, I think it's fine. Like I tried. For some reason, every time
Drink expensive red wine is the secret to
And the-
everything.
yeah, it's like
just
super
drinking
good red
shit.
wine.
Lafitte and
Yeah,
stuff
because
like
I
that.
realized like all the times I've drank Chester's wine, I'm fine. Like,
Oh, he's listening. He's listening. He's like,
yeah,
thank
he's
you.
listening.
Yeah. I think the key is maybe it's not the wine. I think the key point is you take Chester with you when you drink.
Yeah. Hey, by the way,
If it goes past a certain number on the bill, it's suddenly you just got no problem for some reason.
yeah.
But I think yeah, go on. Do you have something to say?
No, I was gonna say like I wanted to say something about Chester's episode too, but I don't know if he's listening. He might be like, I don't know if it's right to say it if he's listening. Well, he's gonna listen to this anyways.
Yeah.
But again, like how he also grew up from like an international perspective, right? Like how he also didn't feel like he was fitting in.
Yeah. He doesn't fit in now. Yeah.
No. But like the fact that he actually lived in Vancouver and Singapore, so I was like, oh, and every time I love it when he recommends me like these really just niche spots that I never would have known, and he would recommend me to these spots because he's so passionate about food, right? It's so rare, and people say this all the time, but only recently have I realized how rare and lucky you are when you are truly passionate and you're willing to learn so much about one subject. And it's I learned this through my friend, my best friend, because she recently told me, you love watches. I think that's great. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean it's great? And she's like, because I don't have that one thing in life that I'm willing to go all out for, to learn, to meet people, to talk to people about. And Chester, like, he loves watches, right? But he even said in his episode, it's food over watches, because he loves food so much. And that just tells you, like, you can tell how much passion he has through, like, what he tells me. Like, I would hit him up every time I'm trying to cook like a home dish, and he would tell me exactly what to do. I still screw it up, right? But he's still like patient, and he would walk you through that. So I think not only through like the international background perspective, but also him being so willing to share, which is very rare in my opinion, about these things. So it's also something that has been stuck with me.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great thing to say. And since he is listening, I'm always a believer in you should follow something related to your passion.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something that, I did, and it certainly did take a lot of courage.
Yeah.
So Chester, just takes courage. Next year is a new year. Maybe you could do something in that space. Or just do something related to food. It doesn't have to be something
I'll
so
be your
specific.
first customer. Yeah.
So because he's probably quite good at it as well, and he can invest the time. And Long, did you want to say something?
No, I was gonna say, like, even if he just made random videos on Instagram of himself cooking, I will watch it.
I would.
Yeah.
Because actually, I think his humor, although sometimes I don't really get it, would actually communicate with certain people like himself. So yeah. But you mentioned pretty much that Long Long's episode has touched a lot of people. And in some way, I'm really happy about that, because she had a lot of question marks on doing an interview, right? And when it came to editing, she was still thinking, oh, shall I really put this out? And that part with her, when she discusses about being in the car and having everything, and that part there, do you know how many people like talk to me about that part? And I know from her point of view, her reservations would have been totally like washed away by the fact of how much positivity and reassurance and how it resonated with a lot of people out there, and inspired and gave them the courage to think, it's actually okay, right? Yeah. Like they might not have said it, but they heard it, they felt it. For her, I think that would have been super amazing, where you take a risk like that and it pays off like tenfold. So yeah, that was I remember doing it. It was emotional for me at the time. Yeah, I think it's just thinking about it, it's pretty emotional. But leads on really nicely to my next question, and we kind of have touched on it. Is out of all four of us here, what have we taken from each other to help us grow? Sometimes I write these questions and I think, I'm such a fucking good question asker. Right? I am good at this. But I will go first.
Yes, we'll give you some credit later.
I will go first. Yeah. Like, I don't think it's anybody's like, I don't think anybody would be surprised that the closest person I am with here is Long Long, right? And just lots of things that I guess when I'm with people, I maybe quite dismissive or give the impression that I might not actually be listening. I'm just being nice. Yeah. But, I do go home and I do have a lot of non-sexual self-time, and I reflect, and there's lots of things that she said that I think, yeah, she's right. And I need to have that in my life. So first of all, the reading thing, like that has been a really positive thing for me. Not only is it my time, but I'm really utilizing that time. And I feel like reading is kind of like, when you play a game and you get onto like level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you keep getting higher, right? Those books, yeah, get you fucking higher, like level 50, level 60. Yeah. So I'm fucking level 60 now. Yeah.
If you're
and
60,
if you read the same,
yeah, Alex is level 600.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, so there's that. And then also who you invest your time with. So she's always been very clear. Well, not always clear, but she always has this theme of my time is limited. I think that's very true. And who we choose to build those relationships and invest those time with are crucial. So we don't spread ourselves too thinly, because it's quality over quantity. So that was a big takeaway from me, from Long Long. I don't think anybody works as hard as Alex. I don't know anybody that works as hard as Alex. Just full stop. Like,
and
I feel like, yeah, it's I almost feel like he's 100% going to succeed, because he's so fucking thick-skinned, yeah, as well, and he works his ass off. Yeah, like it doesn't matter how dumb you are. Yeah.
I'll take that as a credit.
Take that as a credit. Yeah. You're just gonna make it. Like, so for Alex, that's the biggest takeaway. Like and also I've noticed with Alex, he's always super positive. Like, I never hear anything negative. Yeah. Like, always super positive, super gung-ho, and not gung-ho, but really just on it all the time. Really structured and super disciplined. Like, all those are really strong with him that I don't have in my life. And I think, yeah, those things I would take away. I tried to take away, but I fail miserably at totally. Yeah. And yeah, and Jaclyn is what Long Long said, which is, you remind me that, I need to fucking get my shit together.
Shit together. Yeah.
Because like you're fucking gonna kick my ass soon, right? And I feel like you're kicking my ass. And the thing is I know what you said in reply to what Long just said about, you don't think that whatever, but you're also not standing in our position where we have gone X amount of years, had experiences, and then actually probably be more qualified to say what we're saying to you because we can see certain things, right? And yeah, you're one of those people that make me think, what the fuck was I doing at your age? Like, I should have been fucking
Yeah.
on it. But you can't get the time back. And you constantly remind me of that. Like how I should have been at your age. So those are my takeaways. How about, I don't know if I've covered you guys as well, like, and what you want to say, but is there anything you'd like to add?
I mean, I'll kind of add a bit more to. I think, what Daniel summarized there, I think, is a great summary of everyone here. And I think I just can say, well, for myself personally, I've been quite lucky to hang around with you guys, just purely because I think with this little hobby of ours, and we're able to kind of go deep into each person's character, and it's very rare to find people that can have a conversation with you beyond just face value. So most of the time, the people that you interact with will only do things that are right and clean and what looks good and what sounds good. But you can speak to Long and Daniel and they go straight up with you. I mean, they're quite PC on the podcast, relatively speaking, but direct, like it's literally like, as it is. And I think having
give
friends,
us your Pornhub account and password.
yeah, I mean, okay, that's a bit facaded, but I mean, but I think like having people that can really dissect and go things to you on a very deep level is really important. And I think as we're doing this podcast, I think one of our greatest advantages isn't really about the watches, although they are a big part of it, is the fact that we're able to interact with people, and with our characters, we're able to kind of open them up in different perspectives. So I think the one thing I've taken away is I'm, been quite lucky to be on this podcast, really. And welcoming Jaclyn, and hopefully you can take over the role as well. So it's going to be exciting to watch you being here.
Yeah. I mean, you guys have heard this already. It's been from the beginning of this year, like when I first started my account, I only started to learn more from people, right? Because I knew nothing. I knew absolutely nothing, zero. And throughout this past year, just not the number of people I've met, but the meaningful conversations that I've had, I can count that with one hand, if not, two hands. And most of them have been through you. And again, Alex, like so many things are so on face value that after some time you get the sense. But what we've been discussing so far, yes, we can talk about watches, but most of it has not been watch related. And that's when it's really special for me. We are connecting on a personal level, not just, it stemmed from the hobby, but it's so much further than that now. Yeah.
Good. And Long?
Okay, sum it up quickly. So I've mentioned Jaclyn. So Jaclyn mainly for me is, it just gives me a lot of hope, right? Like the world is still okay. There's still good people. There's still people who will change the world. Alex, like even literally every night I read, on days that I'm really tired, I will remember things like, you just have to read 20 pages, right? I actually do that. I'll look at my Kindle and be like, just 20 pages. Alex said so. So right, so that's Alex. And with you, I think it's deeper in the sense. So you are the closest, like, to me, right? I will always remember that I have always had a lot of friends growing up, but none of the friends I actually really connected with. So to think, oh my God, I only made my first friend when I was like 30. It seems really strange to me, but I'm very comfortable being like, it's okay, I started super late, but I finally have one friend at 30,
Late bloomer.
So it's that I'm really grateful about. And then learning to be vulnerable and sharing private stuff about my life with someone.
Mm.
Okay, I mean that kind of touches on actually the next question. It kind of overlaps a little bit, which was over this course of this whole year, irrelevant of the four of us, what's the thing you're going to take away of this year? Like, it could be negative, it could be positive. Knowing the four of us is probably going to be positive, but the one thing you're going to know about 2020, right? Virus aside, yeah, because everybody would just say that. Now I know that's a difficult question, and again, I'm going to give you time to think about it because I'm going to go first. And so I wrote this question yesterday. No, I actually wrote it a couple of days ago, and because I said I was going to answer it first and give you time to think, I thought, okay, I'm going to write my answer down now. And I couldn't write the answer down, not because I didn't know, but just because I guess it would show my vulnerable side, which is the takeaway of this year is actually going to be long for me. So for somebody to you don't expect it. You don't expect, you never prepared for it. And someone to come and impact your life like that is, yeah, pretty special.
I thought you were going to say, I should have signed up for Pornhub. I should have paid for my own account.
Look, I think across the four of us, well, Alex has got all the passwords to all of the sites, but all four of us, we have Masterclass, YouTube Premium, Netflix, all of it, just locked down. So I'm not worried about that. Yeah, everybody, like, if you want to really know the passwords, DM us and I'll, or DM Alex. AlexLau.ar.
I'm going to change my name to Daniel.sum in a minute. I'll change it Daniel Sum.
But what you might find is that, obviously he's been watching Pornhub and the filters will be on trending on what he's interested in.
Yeah.
So there might be some bestiality in there or cockholding or something like that he's recently, taken an interest into. Just ignore that and just search for what you want.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, the takeaway for me this year, is definitely long.
Thank
right.
you. That's really
Everybody
touching.
else.
Okay, so for me, it's
I mean, at this point, you have to say Daniel, right?
No. Like I'm gonna go completely different. I'm gonna do something that is very just a pure observation. And it kind of just I always believed in this, but this year kind of just like cemented this for me. I categorize people into people who think the world is out to get them. They blame people for everything. They blame the world for this, and they're not responsible for their own actions and why things are happening. And then there are people who go, it must be me. How do I fix myself, right? I think this year, you can totally see there's two groups of people who are pissed off at the situation, people who are negative, who think, I can't believe this is happening to me. This is this, that, everything. And then there are people who are like, okay, this is my current situation. How do I make the most out of it? And I think just at least within the four of us, we're people who are like, this is the situation. What is there to mope about? Let's do something about this. So even the podcast coming out from this year, and I feel like it's actually been a really amazing year, even though a lot of shit has happened. I feel like this has given me so much time to do the things I've always wanted to do. So I'm not saying like, wow, it's been a great year, but it's not been a negative year for me. Yeah. What
and
about
in some
you guys?
aspects, I guess, like because you can see it very clearly now, those type of people and the other positive people, it's helped you differentiate your friends to some extent, or your acquaintances.
Yeah.
Right. And who you spend your time with.
Yeah. What about you guys?
I would say, I think the big takeaway of this year I agree with Long. I think actually anything is possible no matter what the situation is. And I think with this year alone, I've been able to set up a couple of things which everything that I've learned over the last 10 years, like I'll answer what Jaclyn mentioned earlier about your parents giving you pressure to decide something. I just think making the most out of every opportunity, and there will be a time when something comes your way and it will just all click and you think, oh, everything I done, actually, I can relate to this very one moment. And I think that one moment has actually come. And I've been very fortunate with all the friends and the gentleman that we mentioned earlier with his support and all the people that I've been linking to. I feel like it's all really coming together. So I feel this year has shown me that it doesn't matter what the situation, doesn't matter the circumstances, doesn't matter whatever, you can always find great opportunities. And it's those times where you can kind of make the most out of it and have something really special come up. And I would say this year, although the situation wasn't pleasant, I would say has changed me as a person a lot, because I've seen a lot of hope. It's actually one of the best years that's actually happened to me, should I say. So that's what I've taken away. And Jaclyn?
For me, it was a weird year because I was supposed to graduate in May. So it was I decided to take a gap year, and to really not just because to focus more on my research, but also to focus on myself. And I've always been one of those people that I thought I would be pretty insensitive to things, although I'm a sensitive person. But then to people who don't really know me, like I don't really let things get to me that easily. I'm pretty like easygoing. But this year was like I lived by myself. I'd say like 90% of the year, right? 80% of the year. And it's been a really not getting to know myself better, but being more comfortable by myself. I feel like a lot of people my age, they are always in search of action and what they're missing out on or what I could be doing. But then for me, it's really just been, I mean, I had this newly found hobby, right? Which is watches, and I did a lot more. I learned a lot through the time and about watches, but also living by myself, and managing my time. I mean, it sounds so naive, but I think I did a pretty good job in terms of that. And what could I have done more? Could I have read more and learned more? Yes, but I think at the end of the day, just being satisfied and comfortable with yourself and waiting for the next challenge to come, it's a good place to be at. And I think that's where I'm at right now. In terms of ending this year, has it been a good year? Yes, to a certain degree. Has it been life-changing? Yes, because literally I was ready to graduate, right? And because of what happened, it's changed my course a little bit, delayed for 1 year. Am I like upset or disappointed in that? Not at all. And one thing that I am a little bit disappointed in is how much I miss my family and how much I wish I were with them right now. But just, I don't think it's going to happen within the next few months. And it's going to be the first time I'm spending New Year's by myself away from family, which is going to be, it makes me sound like such a baby saying it, right? Like, because I've never been away from my family, but I think it will be my first adult year where I need to remind myself, like, you need to get your shit together a lot more because you're really just by yourself and you need to work harder and also, but at the same time, appreciate what you have. And yeah, I think being away from school has made me realize how much I missed going to school. I think when you're in school, you don't constantly think about it because you're in that environment. And now, let's say if I were to go back on campus and relive the last semester of my senior year, I would be so much more appreciative. And I think one other major takeaway is just be appreciative of what you have. You never know what's gonna, I mean, none of us knew this was gonna happen. I don't think the world didn't know, but it is here. And instead of complaining about it, you just have to, deal with it and see what you can make out of it, because you can't change the situation, change yourself and adapt.
Okay, so that's I do have more questions, but actually, I feel that's a good place to end the podcast.
Yeah.
With positivity, but then a touch of being realistic of what's actually happened in this time, and really highlighting the fact that how fragile some relationships are and how much we do need them. So I think that's a great place to finish the podcast. There are a few quick fire questions though. I like to be consistent.
Okay, right,
How
all
we
right.
answer them?
Exactly.
Yep.
How are we going to do it?
Quick
You're going to
fire
ask each and every one. Okay.
Yeah, just do quick fire. Yeah, quick.
Okay,
All
go.
three of you. Yeah.
Go then.
Favorite Christmas song? Alex first, Jaclyn, and then Lung.
Can I come back later?
Don't say Skyfall, please. Again.
No, I'm not going to play Skyfall. No. Actually, I tell you what. Okay. I like the piano from
Skyfall.
no, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence by, I forgot his name, Ryuichi or something. That piano song, Merry Christmas, Mr. Lawrence. It's a good song.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
I mean, so cliche,
Jaclyn?
like Mariah Carey. Like,
Yeah,
Oh, okay. You like that
me too.
one?
It has
Yeah.
to be.
it has to be her. Like,
It's a-
you
yeah,
see her
it's a
singing,
classic.
Too classic.
Yeah, it's classic.
I like George Michael's.
Mm.
Fair enough. All right,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Right, next
Right.
one. What's the best Christmas gift you ever had?
This is easy for me.
Right. For me, right, it was a Game Boy. The first ever Game Boy. Oh my God. Yeah. It was under the Christmas tree. I'd asked for it. My parents had told me straight flat out, yeah, I wasn't going to get one. Like they thought it was, yeah, back then they thought it was like the devil. Yeah. So they were like, you're not going to get one. So come Christmas Day, I saw this box under the Christmas tree, and it was the one Christmas where I really wasn't bothered about opening the Christmas present because I knew it wasn't what I wanted. Yeah. And I was just didn't bother. Well into the afternoon, parents said, why don't you open your Christmas present? So I was like, oh, all right then. Yeah. Went under the Christmas tree, didn't even shake or think what it is, slowly ripped half of it on the side. And I saw on the side, it said game. And I'd seen the box so many times, so I knew what it was. And it was one of those moments where they were sitting on the sofa behind me. So they must have been observing the whole thing. Mm. And I looked around at them. I flicked my head round with a cheeky smile. It was just, that was just the best present ever. Yeah.
That's good.
Okay.
I'll spend a couple of minutes on this one. Can I spend a couple of minutes on this one?
Okay.
It was actually last year. So I was in Taiwan. I was in Mandarin Oriental. I was with my girlfriend. And then I got a call from Mr. Kevin To. And the sound of his voice, because he's a very neutral guy. And, you know,
I'm giving you 1 minute now.
No. But I'm just saying for now, because I just think it's hilarious. Because he called me up and I thought, oh, here he goes. You know, he said to me, Merry Christmas. And I said to him, Merry Christmas. And his voice was quite low. And he said to me, he goes, I've got something to tell you. And I thought, oh, here we go, some bad news. And he said to me, I've actually got you your IP. And I remember in the lobby, I screamed, holy shit. And everyone was watching me. And I was so embarrassed. I just had to run out. And he said to me, yeah, it's available for you to collect. So for me, that was one of those crazy experiences because I've been asking for that watch for ages. Well, relatively
what day was
ages. It was 23rd of December.
Wow.
And I was actually coming back that day, and I said to him, look, I'm landing, etc., etc. And then I didn't get there in time, of course, but I picked it up just after.
Nice.
So yeah, that was it.
That's also his plug to basically get Kevin on side to get his other piece. By
Yeah.
the way, if nobody like
Well,
that
I
was
mean,
so
no,
satellited.
well,
Yeah, I
actually,
was-
no.
Like-
But actually, well, no. Thing is, that's the problem because the piece that we mentioned that I wanted to get, kind of feels
You don't
like
want-
I don't want it now. So it kind of feels like I don't
Yeah.
really care if I get it or not.
Mm.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Yeah.
No, I don't. I still no.
Right, Jaclyn.
For me, it was also last year. So around this time, my my best friend. It's so weird calling her my best friend because I don't ever say that in front of her. But like, there's no way to distinguish that. She is like.
What do you
the one
say?
I-
BFFs or something? Is that what you say?
Yeah, no, we are the closest, I would say. So she started working, or she was going to start working this March. So, and then we kind of were planning for a trip right before she starts working because we thought it might be difficult to see each other. So then we went to Japan together. And then she got me, basically my gift was like our experience together. She booked the new Amon Kyoto, like they had just opened. And then we spent some days in Kyoto just biking around, visiting all the shrines and eating and drinking.
Which is lovely.
Yeah. And then now it's made me realize like I love gifts, but I really next time like I will try to gift people experiences because it will be something that they remember. And that was the first like experience in a gift form that I had received from anyone. So that's like very memorable to me. Yeah.
Lovely. Oh, I want to be in Japan.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I
You, Nana?
actually was gonna say, so I originally in my head wanted like I was also thinking one of the best Christmas gifts was also being surprised in Japan with a booking to specific restaurants, right? But then I actually thought about it and I was like, it actually doesn't feel that amazing to me because I feel like actually throughout the year we do eat a lot of really good food. But so
It's like,
I know it's like subtle flexing, right? But in my mind, like the most vivid memory, because I haven't spent Christmas with my family in so long, so I have this memory when I was a kid, in New York, in that I can't remember the name of the hotel, but it was where they filmed Home Alone, and then
Waldorf.
where, and is it like next to Central New York? And then I
Yeah,
just
it's
remember the
Waldorf, yeah.
scene with the lift, and then I have a very vivid memory where we're in New York, but then my mom brought this cooker and she was cooking porridge in the room. And I remember thinking, God, we're so Chinese. Like you're in New York and you're cooking rice, like a porridge, like in the room. And for some reason, that's just been such a good memory for me. Because like for my family, Chinese New Year is like the biggest thing. So Christmas was just a way to get away and it was just holiday. But now I think back, I'm like, it's so nice being Chinese and being this weird, you know, like doing weird things like cooking porridge in a room and stuff. Yeah.
Right. So next one. What's the best book you've read in 2020?
God,
That
there's
will
so
never
many.
work. So the story of Netflix, that was a really good story.
Okay. That will never work. Okay.
That will never
Randolph.
work.
Yeah, that will never work. And basically it was, I won't go too long into it, but basically his wife wasn't supporting him, but he still acknowledged her in the book, which I think was quite sweet.
Oh,
You're such a little romantic, man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's really
I know, right?
romantic.
Pay attention
He's
to these
such a
things.
little
Pay
romantic.
attention to these little things.
Yeah, you're just like a sucker for that kind of stuff,
Yeah,
man.
man.
Yeah.
Chick flicks all day long.
For me, definitely Susan Kay, Quiet.
Yeah,
Quiet.
So-
Yeah, I was going to
okay.
say Quiet.
It's one of those books that I heard about, I read. When I read it, I thought, yeah, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. And then sometimes it takes a while for the book to digest in you. And that's one of those books where I constantly refer to kind of in my subconscious. The main thing is, I think the main thing is you feel okay to be an introvert. Like that
Yeah.
book makes you feel like it's okay to be an introvert
Yeah.
in a world where it seems like extroverts get ahead.
Yeah.
So that's where I felt like it was such a powerful book because it made you embrace yourself a little bit more, you know, accept yourself a little bit more and see things differently. So yeah, definitely that book for me.
I know mine. Like, there's so many good books, but this is like, I think now and then you find a book that you feel like you can apply for the rest of your life. And Five Love Languages. So obviously I read it. I recommend it to everybody I've met because it just
I do too.
It just, you see the world and people differently, and you go, I understand why we don't communicate well. I understand how to handle this person. So that's become like my Bible, like that book. And the other super cheesy one that I highly recommend is Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus.
Yeah.
But that's another one of those. You just got to read it once in your life and just get it out of the way. Yeah.
Totally. I couldn't agree more, man, like with those recommendations. Like anybody of value to me has done the love language with me. Like, because I really want to know. And I want to spend my time wisely with you. Yeah. And you're right about the Venus book. It is a book you read once, but it's only a book you read once, but you do kind of have to read it. Yeah. Yeah.
Jaclyn?
I'll add it on the list. My book is, if I had to choose, it would be The Last Lecture by Randy.
Oh, I've read that. Yeah, when he suffered from cancer and he had to kind of, I remember this one. Yeah, good
You've
book.
read everything, Alex.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yes, I should have said that. I'm sorry, I should have said that. Yeah. I didn't know. But
in another life, you weren't James Bond.
No,
you were a librarian.
Stephen Hawking or something. No, I want to say, Jaclyn, I think what hit me with that one was he was writing when his kid was still young. Yeah. So I would love to have reflected what that child would have read when knowing that his father was writing it, whilst he was so unaware.
Exactly.
Kind of what he had to do. I think that was so touching. Yeah.
Exactly. And I remember crying. I never really cry.
Yeah.
Reading, cried when I think towards the end he was like, and this is the last lecture, like that I will give, but it will be for my kid that will read it and I won't be here. So basically this guy, he's a Carnegie Mellon professor. Yeah. He finds out he has terminal cancer. And, a lot of professors at the end of their profession talk about the last lecture, but for him, it was the end of life when he was giving the last lecture, and it wasn't to his students, it was to his kid. I mean, he wrote it for his kid.
Mate, that is bringing goosebumps to me already.
Yeah.
No, but the thing is, he was playing on words and he was playing on scenes, and like it was a trick, wasn't it? He called it like the thing that shows in front of you, but it's actually something behind you. Exactly. And that's what the story was. Yeah, it was a really good book.
Now I want to read it.
It's a really good book. Well, actually, if you're talking about really deep stories, Out of the Gobi was a really good one. If you haven't read it, read it. Out of the Gobi. I won't say
Gobi Desert.
Yeah, out of the Gobi, the desert itself. So read the blurb or something. It's a good book.
Yeah.
Wait, can I just ask something? Because Alex has read like everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking, what books hasn't Alex read? Have you read 50 Shades?
No, I haven't read that. No, those I haven't read. Correct. Those I haven't read. You're right. Okay.
But hey, those are educational too.
No, actually, if you're talking about, so I know we're digressing, but if we're talking about like fiction books, I really like Stephen Fry Heroes.
It's not fiction. Really it's non-fiction.
I can't get it. It's not on Kindle. You have to only get it on Amazon. I tried to buy it.
I think how Stephen Fry portrays this sort of stuff, because normally it's very complicated with all these gods and heroes and heroines. The way he's written it is just fantastic. It's really worth.
He's a great communicator.
Yeah, it's fantastic. A magical guy.
Okay, right. Next one. One habit from this year of COVID that you'll take into next year and long term. That you developed this year.
Alex is laughing because Alex is like Pornhub.
No, I was expecting you guys to say something. I was like, come on, here we go. Hurry up, spit it out. One thing.
Mate, Alex learned this year that by watching Pornhub, he could maintain his right bicep size.
I can't deal with this anymore.
I'm starting to think about that.
You don't get it, do you? You don't get it, Alex?
No, I was trying to work it. I was actually spending some time. I was actually spending time. Wait.
These two get it, yeah? You don't get it.
Red.
Oh my God.
I'm turning red.
Yeah.
All right,
you don't get it. Alex doesn't even get it.
You can
What?
message me
try-
after.
No way he
I
Can you
think
try,
you
try
can
left
message me
arm?
after.
Okay. Can I tell a
Try-
joke? Can I tell a joke though? Can I tell a joke?
Yeah, yeah,
My professor, so the guy who I work with, work for my lab.
yeah.
He has a really active lifestyle. You know, he bikes a lot, he goes hiking, and whatever. One time he comes into the lab, he has this cast on his arm, on his right wrist. And we're like, oh my god, like Dan, what happened? His name is Dan. I'm like,
Yeah.
what happened? And then he was like, oh, you have no idea what happened. He was like, he's
Yeah.
a funny guy, right? And we know, and we didn't know, right? Because you know he had a broken wrist, and we were like, oh my god, it's like so serious. And he was like, oh, you're never gonna guess what happened. I was like, yeah, what happened? Excessive masturbation, man. Like, don't do it. And then I was like, oh, like I don't know if he's kidding or not because he's so straightforward. And then he cracked up. He was like, "No, I was biking. It was an act." I was like, "Oh, okay." So funny. Yeah, if you guys ever want to know, like his name is Dan Gilbert. He wrote like a lot of good books that I read like as a kid growing up in high school. So yeah.
What books? Like, what books?
Let me see like his
Dan
most
Gilbert.
recent
Sounds
book.
like such a generic name. It's kind of, I think.
He is.
Did he write How to Fall Off a Bike and Break Your Wrist?
No, there's two Dan Gilberts. There's one, he's like the businessman, like billionaire.
Yeah.
And then there's another one. So like his most well-known work is Stumbling Upon Happiness. But then
I've read that.
Yeah, but then he also wrote some
Yeah.
like new ones. But those were like all incorporated in most research. Yeah. But he's the guy that I, as a freshman, going into classes expecting to be blown away by the stuff you're gonna listen to and learn, and he was the first person, like the lecture that I attended, that was the first time that made me realize, holy shit, like this dude is on a whole other class level. Like his lectures are amazing.
Do you actually, I know you do psychology, I want to digress. Do you read like Freud and Nietzsche and stuff like that?
Yeah. So
okay, so sorry, I digress, because the book on Netflix, he's the great grandson of Freud. So I think he comes from a family of quite intellectual people, is what he wants to speak about. Anyway,
Right.
sorry, yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah, I read Freud like in college. We read many of his excerpts, and we always have these huge debates because it's always fun to debate about Freud. Yeah.
So what's the one habit though, guys?
Sorry,
okay.
Yeah.
I'll go first because mine is like very crystal clear for me. Journaling. So I journal excessively, and it's been like life-changing for me, and I highly recommend it.
Did you only do that this year? Did you do it this year?
Yes.
Okay.
It was really uncomfortable at first because you're like, oh my God, you're trying to go through the day, you're rushing, you have your whole like morning routine kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then you got to go, well, too bad. I just got to pause and I just got to do it. And then the more I do it, the more I'm like, this is amazing. Like, this is just life-changing. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Zoom, that's my one. Learning how to use Zoom properly.
Right.
Yeah. Jaclyn?
And
For me, it's keeping touch with people online now that you're no longer there. Like it's actually sometimes, and I realized this recently, like when it comes to friends, it's nice to connect, right? But it's different when you're connecting virtually or via text when you actually don't see the person. But another thing I realized that I think I will bring to the next year is after a while you need to reset when it comes to social media. Like you need to have a few days where you just clear everything and don't think about it, because I had that recently and it's so refreshing. I didn't even want to look at my phone anymore because I was spinning like it just cleared my mind, and it cleared all the more like the trivial things that you see
Junk.
online. Exactly. Like people's problems, your problem, that reminds you of more problems. It's it's important to reset after a while, and I think I'm gonna do that. Continue doing that in the new year.
Good.
Yeah, that's actually very overlaps to my habit this year, where my phone is on like silent and do not disturb 24/7. So I found that if you haven't tried it, you should try it, because you're far more efficient, effective, happier, and take all notifications off, and you realize you don't really need a lot, right? And the world doesn't need you every fucking second either, right? So I think once you do that, it's kind of empowering. You kind of get control back in your life, right? And you call the shots. You tell when I want to reply or when I want to do stuff. It's just, it's just a way better life, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely, my phone is just, I think I'm going to take that into next year.
Yeah.
So that is the Christmas episode. And there is something I want to say, which is I really want to say thank you to the listeners again, whether it's your first time listening or you've been binging on this shit. You are what is keeping us going. Your messages, stories, all of it does give us that extra spring on our step to make it happen. And then next, I really want to say thank you to this team, including Chester, even though he's not on this call. Even Jaclyn here, although you haven't been part of this for a very long time, your impact's been very welcomed. And I'd say your enthusiasm and positivity is really infectious. So thanks for sticking with this, everybody. And I really hope to see all of you in the near future. Hopefully
Merry
not too long.
Christmas.
And
Yeah.
so to everybody, Merry Christmas. And let's hope 2021 is a better year.
Fantastic.
Amen to that.
Take it, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Waiting List podcast. Hit the subscribe button and the next episode will come straight to your phone as soon as it's ready. Whilst I'm here, please remember to leave a nice review and follow us on Instagram at the Waiting List podcast.